Hi, I'm Christopher, a research software engineer with Research Software Workshops, and it's a very warm welcome to part 6 of Git for Collaboration. The link is down here at the bottom, and if you go to the Issues and Milestones section, you'll reach this page. Now, communication is the key to collaboration. You saw that in the last page, in which the communication around the pull request was key to getting your changes pulled back into upstream, or at least understanding why they were not going to make those changes, and you basically reverting to electric. Now, the communication around pull requests happens after you've completed the work. So we've already written lots of things about the gas oven and the gas kitchen before we made the pull request, and then all of that was kind of thrown away. And that's kind of the risk when you do your communication after the work. There's a risk that your pull request is rejected, essentially because you haven't discussed things up front. Now, the way you can mitigate this risk is by communicating before you start your work, and GitHub really does provide excellent tools to help you do this. The two main tools to do this are called Issues and Milestones. So the Issues tab is available on nearly all GitHub projects. If we take a look at it, let's go to our GitHub project here. It's here, indeed, sometimes not visible on all projects. And indeed, if it's not visible, what you do is you go to Settings, and we can make sure it is visible. So basically there we are, we have this check here, we now have issues turned on. Okay, let's go back to the project. There we are, here's the issues. So sometimes people turn them off, I strongly recommend you always turn them on. So if you have the upstream project and you click on issues, you can see the issues that you have in your project. Equally, if you go to the original upstream and look at their issues, there we are. These are the issues that the original upstream project has. Now, you can add an issue to any project you want. You don't have to be a member of the project. And you do that by clicking on New Issue. So this is how I'm going to send a message to the original that we forked from. Now, when you click on the new issue, it will open a dialog for you to add a title here for the issue and also a message. Now, as I said, issues are public. It's a bit like sending the pull request. You're sending a message to someone who probably doesn't even know you. So, treat it like you're writing a public email to someone. Remember those community guidelines and be respectful and polite. So a good issue should be polite, be to the point, so concise, provide evidence, maybe via links or output to other programs, be objective, and provide help or an offer of help to resolve. You can also style your issue using Markdown, so you can include links, bullets, bullet points, pictures, etc., just to make things easier to read. And of course, you can preview it using the preview tag. Now let's create sort of an issue here about needing space for the cat. So remember, there's a little picture of a cat. We know it's going to be a cat in the kitchen, so they need a space, and we feel that the project is not dealing with that yet. So let's set the title, creating a space, creating a corner for Thompson the cat. And then what we can do is basically write in a bit of the message. So I've noticed that the current kitchen design doesn't include space for Thompson the cat. The client included Thompson's photo. Now remember, this is Markdown, so I can actually put a link to Thompson's photo. And of course I need to find it, so I can find it by sort of opening, let's open this in a new tab so I don't lose my issue. We have the image in here. Here's the picture of Thompson. So let's put that. I can get a raw link as well, which is kind of quite nice. Go to File. Oh, okay. We'll just do it this way. It's easy enough. There's the file. So Thompson's photo, we'll put the URL in there. So I think we should think about this. What do you think will be needed? I believe at least a space for a food and water bowl, which I would be happy to implement. Again, if you're asking for a change to be made to a project, volunteering to do the work to make the change is really good. And again, if you want to preview it, we could preview there and we can see the link has been made. And there's even ways you could sort of insert this as a proper photo if you wanted to. Okay, once you've then finished writing it, you can now submit new issue. And that's now made the issue in the repository. It's now there in the original project. Again, the person who viewed that project, so this is now me. If I just bring this window again across here, if I look at the issues, I may have been notified that I had that. I can see that the issue is there, and then maybe we can have a bit of a discussion about this. Maybe here, good idea. I hadn't got around to thinking that. Thinking about that. What else do you think we need? And you can see it again kind of becomes a comment, a sort of a conversation. And again, if the person doesn't want to talk to you, they'll click close issue and, they'll just ignore you. You can't expect people to respond to everything, but, as long as you're polite, you're respectful, you should be able to get somewhere with it. And again, we can see here, immediately it popped up, the response there from the original owner. Now, as I said, anyone who has a GitHub account can contribute to this conversation. Anyone can raise an issue. Anyone can comment. As I said, there's the option of closing the issue, so I can close it. Anyone can close it, to be honest. And even if you do close it, you can reopen it. So like if I close it now, it says I've closed it, but then I can also reopen it. So it's not like it's even permanent. Remember that everything is public, so the owner of the repository does have some additional tools available to block individuals who are being abusive or to freeze their issues during cooling off periods, but generally this is a very public form of conversation. So remember, be respectful, be kind, be polite. So as an exercise now, because we've just walked all the way through this top part, so now at this exercise, could you now just create some more issues in this upstream repository? Maybe engage with conversation. If you're you've seen some issues being made by somebody watching this video at the same time, then maybe engage in conversation with them. And also feel free to close any issues that you want to. I'm going to sort of let you press pause now. And when you come back from pause, I'll also do some of this as well. Okay, we've come back from pause. I'm just going to create some more issues, just as I said. So go back to the issues page, click new issue, and then maybe install waste recycling area. Comment, what are we going to do about waste recycling? I think we need, and let's put some bullet points in here. Bullet point, space for plastics. Space to sort metals, space to store cardboard, bucket for kitchen waste. So again, this is just like almost writing an email. It's just a nice form of communicating. Quick preview, yep, that all looks good. And I'm going to submit it. Again, it's come in here. We can add more things, more thoughts. When is the recycling day? So you see these things kind of they're a conversation. It's halfway between email and chat. And again, when you finish with the issue, it's all been resolved. You can say resolved. We will look at this later. And you can close with comment. And generally, I would always recommend closing with a comment. There we are. Just because it gives a reason why you've closed it. It helps people understand. And again, I'm going to go back to this issue here. I'm going to close this one as well. And I think I'll keep it open actually. So cool. So as I said, you have additional controls for issues that are raised in your own repository. So for example, if we go back to the forked repository, so our own copy of the repository, so I'm going to do that by going here, my repositories, and then there is my copy, my fork, in Chris at Home Super Project. Now, to protect you from spam, GitHub may not have enabled issues, and indeed that's what we saw here. Is it starts off by not having issues allowed, and that's why if it's not allowed, go into settings, and then go down and then make sure that issues are enabled. Now, once you have your issues, again, you can create any issues you want. You can create them in your own space. Maybe we can have an issue which is essentially cell gas oven. And issues can not just be questions. So if you're writing an issue for your own repository, they could actually be almost like bits of information about what you need to do, almost like tasks in many ways. So this is like, we need to sell the gas oven. We bought a gas oven, but now don't need it, as we switch to electric. Again, this is why talking up front would have been good. If this hypothetical project, if they really committed to gas, they'd be in a bit of trouble now. We need to work out how to sell it. And indeed, this is just an issue which almost isn't addressed to anyone. It's almost addressed to ourselves as a reminder of something we need to do, a task that we need to do. Now, when you create the issue, when it's your own repository, you have these additional settings you can attach to the issue, assignees, labels, projects, milestones, etc. And these can be used by project owners to add additional metadata. So for example, if we click next to assignees, we can find everybody who belongs to the project, in which case it's just me, and we can say this is the person who's going to have to do it. And so look, now I have to do it, and it's indeed been self-assigned now. So I'm saying this task is going to be done by me. Because there's only me in this particular repository, I can only self-assign work. But if you had multiple people with access to this repository, remember you can do that by going to settings and then manage access and add more people, which you will need to put your password in for, and I'm not going to now because it's not worth it. You can then add more people and assign them. You can also categorize your issues using labels. So if we click here, we can use some of the pre-prepared labels. So there's some nice ones here like won't fix, question, invalid, help wanted, etc. But equally, we can actually write our own labels. So for example, I might have this as gas to electric as my label. And then I click create new label. We'll give it this color. And there we are. This is now labeled as gas to electric. And indeed, you can actually have as many labels as you want. Duplicate. If you have somebody give an issue that you really like and it's the first time you've seen them, maybe good first issue is a good one to label as well. It just makes people feel nice, that little badges. So that's taken us now down through this part of the page to exercise. And again, have a play yourself now. So create some more issues in your repository, assign them to yourself and add appropriate labels. Press pause, and when you come back from pause, I'll do that as well. Okay, you've now come back from pause. So again, we're going to do this. Let's create another issue. So new issue, another task we'll need to do, buy Thompson's bed. And we can say Thompson needs somewhere to sleep. Would like to buy a nice bed. So again, it's almost like a task in many ways. And this task, well, I'm going to do this. And I can even, because I know it's me, I can even click the assign myself. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to create a label. This is for Thompson. So he can have a label all to himself. Can randomly choose different colours, find one you like. He can be orange. And there we are. Thompson now has a little label for issues that relate to him. And indeed, those issues are good because what I can do here, you can see the labels at this point, and indeed you can filter. So I can see, give me all of the issues that relate to Thompson. There we are. That's there. So it's a very useful thing to be doing. Now, as well as using issues to sort of say, to basically publicize all of the tasks that need to be performed in the project and say who's doing the tasks, which is very useful for helping sort of say what work needs doing and how people should be operating. You can also use GitHub to organize the work into blocks via identifiable milestones. So if I go back to the, say, by Thompson's bed thing here, you can click on milestones at this point. Oh, actually, sorry, I'm going to do it this way around. If we go to issues, there's this milestones tab here. Now, if I click on the milestones tab, there's currently no milestones at this point. We can create a new milestone by clicking on new milestone. And this new milestone, we can give a title. And in this case, we're going to do the title will be the milestone of selling, recycling, waste. So all of the things we bought when we didn't need to do that. You can even give a date you want this done by. So maybe I want to complete this by 2021 and June the 1st. And you can also add a description. We need to remove all waste from the kitchen refurb. Excuse me. There we are. And then when you create the milestone, there we are. We can see at the moment there's no information about it, but we've got like some bits here. We don't know how complete it is. But what we can do with the issues, if we now go back to these, we can actually assign an issue to the milestone. We do that by clicking on the cog here. And there's the milestone now in the list. If we now click on that, we can see it's part of this milestone. And if I now go back to the milestones view, there we are. We can see there's one more thing to do in it, one open issue that needs completing before we've finished this milestone. And we can see who it's been assigned to, who's working on it, etc., etc. And what's nice is that at the moment that milestone is listed as 0% complete. But as soon as that issue is closed, okay, sold it now for a good price. Smiley. And I close with a comment. What this has done is it's now basically told the milestone that this is now finished. And if we look at that milestone now, we can see that all the issues associated with it are now complete. So the milestone is complete. So again, this is a way for basically enabling a group of people to have an understanding of how close we are to a particular milestone in a project and where we need to focus our effort to be able to hit those key milestones as we go along. Now, one of the issues with milestones, I like them a lot, but at the moment, one issue can only be associated with one milestone. So you can have multiple issues in a milestone, but you cannot associate an issue with multiple milestones, which is a bit of a pain. There are some things where I think actually an issue is a blocker for multiple milestones, but that's just my view. I do hope GitHub will implement that at some point. So that's now brought us all the way through this part. Again, read it again if you want to just be clear with how it works. And we've got to this exercise where really I want you to create more issues and assign them to milestones. And then I want you to close them and then just see how this progress bar fills up. Press pause. And when you come back from pause, I'm going to do this as well myself. Okay, you've now come back from pause. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to create another milestone. So let's do milestones, new milestone. I'm going to call this Thompson moving in. And I want Thompson to be happily in the kitchen by December. Everything needed for Thompson to move in. Again, your milestones can be anything you would like to make. Okay, now in the issues, I already have an issue that's related to the Thompson milestone, so I'm going to basically assign that now. But also there may be other things that we'll need to do for Thompson. So for example, buy litter tray. And again, I'm not even going to put in a comment for this because I'm going to be really quick with it. And again, milestone we can have, this is Thompson moving in. And then we can have another issue. Buy water bowl. And you can imagine doing lots of these issues, and it's almost this planning stage in a project where you're beginning to think, actually, what do I need to do? How do I need to work? And the nice thing is all of this is completely public. And so people working together as part of a team will be able to look at this and see, okay, what milestones do we have in the project? Okay, there's this one Thompson moving in. What needs doing? Nobody's assigned to these things yet, so maybe I'm going to do this task. Assign it to myself. We forgot to label this with Thompson. We really should have done that. There we are. And then when we finished, you can even record that and say, yep, purchased. Close with a comment. Again, if we now look at this milestone, you can see it's beginning to fill in. That progress bar is moving through. There are 3 issues. One's been complete, 2 are left. And then as people begin to fill them in, we'll make progress towards that milestone until eventually, once all of them have been completed, got a really nice bed. Good deal too. You can imagine how a team of people working together could use this to actually collaborate and work well together. And of course, there are now no more issues and everything has been closed, but we can still see those closed issues here. So nothing in GitHub is ever deleted. So you can see these things, and indeed they'll show up in searches. So people will find these discussions in the future. So again, if you're trying to keep a record of how your team is operating, this is a good way of doing it as well. So okay, we've now completed this. And as I said, GitHub comes with many communication and project planning tools, even more than I've shown you here, and they're there to try and make it easier for you to collaborate productively with others. We've really only scratched the surface of these tools here, so there are even more involved things such as project boards and Kanban boards, which you can find under the Projects tab, and they let you visualize the tasks and the relationships between them and also track progress. Now as ever, these are tools that will help you and your collaborators communicate. They can't force you to communicate, and no tool can fix problems caused by team members who just won't talk to each other. Also remember that you should be professional and polite when communicating. Clear, polite and concise communication is a key skill which is needed to be successful when working in a team. It is a skill that needs practice, but once obtained will open lots of doors to interesting careers and will enhance your success when working within and perhaps one day managing productive teams. So okay, that's the end of this section. Click next to go to the next section, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.